Crashes, flying parts, loose drain holes, penalties, safety cars, and a lot of chaos. The Las Vegas Grand Prix had it all. It certainly provided us with some good racing moves, but at what cost? Was the Las Vegas Grand Prix worth it? And what did the drivers have to say about the total chaos on track? Stick around to find out what exactly happened during the chaos-filled Las Vegas Grand Prix, where Verstappen, Russell and Leclerc all played their parts. Verstappen started the Las Vegas Grand Prix by driving his RB19 down the inside of pole sitter Leclerc into the low-speed Turn 1 left-hander. Both drivers braked as late as they could, and Verstappen took Leclerc with him just over the track's line. Verstappen grabbed the lead, but the stewards had a different plan and immediately handed out their punishment of choice in 2023, a 5-second time penalty to be served at Verstappen's next pit stop. While Verstappen was initially upset with the penalty, after a post-race assessment and discussion with Leclerc, he took full responsibility. The start was good, then we both braked quite late to defend the position, but I was on the inside on the dirt, I guess, Verstappen said after the race. As soon as you're a bit offline here, it's just super low grip. I braked and there was no grip. I didn't mean to push Charles off the track, but I couldn't slow down. I just kept sliding on, 4 wheels wide. That's why we had to go wide. At the time, you're also full of adrenaline, and I was not happy with the decision, but looking back at it, it was probably right call. And after that, with that 5-second penalty, it was definitely a bit harder to come back to the front. Leclerc felt that it was justified, but he feels there is a better method to punish drivers. Max already came to me and explained to me the situation, Leclerc said. It was on the limit, over the limit, and I think the 5-second penalty is deserved. It was tight. I still tried to push off track, but it was so low grip to try and keep that position, but it's way it is. Then he has been penalised. He paid the penalty, and that was the right penalty to give. It's like this. In those kinds of situations, it will be better for the FIA to ask to give the place back because there's quite a bit of an advantage to take care of tyres when you have free air. But it's way it is. Verstappen didn't understand the point of Leclerc's notion of a hand position back order when questioned about it. We opted to just stay ahead rather than hand the position back, Verstappen said. Then you take the 5-second penalty. I don't know what's better in the end. I mean, I paid the penalty, so doesn't matter in a way. If you go back behind, you probably also end up losing whatever, 5 seconds. It's pretty similar in the end. But this wasn't all. This was just some of the chaos on lap 1. Later in the race, Verstappen would again be the focal point of another investigation, adding to the chaos. This time, he ended up in a collision with Russell. During this collision, George Russell just didn't see Max Verstappen into turn 12, didn't think he'd be there on his inside. Not on that part of the track, just before the long DRS straight. And so got a nasty surprise as he turned in and felt the bump of his Mercedes front left hitting the Red Bull's front wing. It lost Russell a podium, but it was much more than that. It entirely reset the race, turning it from what was looking up to be a Charles Leclerc victory into yet another for Verstappen, thus completing the total chaos. That turning point, when the race deviated from what it was supposed to be, just contributed to the adrenaline and drama, making it as stunning a sports event as F1 would have wanted it to be. The Russell-Verstappen collision was, ironically, Verstappen's lucky break. As the safety car came out to remove the debris, he swapped some front wing end plate damage for a far more potent combination of track position and tyres, handing him the opportunity to fight for the win. On the other hand, during that safety car period, it was difficult for Leclerc and the Ferrari pit wall, Verstappen's rival during the race, to know what the proper call would be. At the time of the incident, he was third behind Perez and Lance Stroll's Aston Martin, which had jumped from 19th to 9th on softs on the first lap, then pitted under the VSC to get rid of them, and then glided up the order as others completed their stops without getting a gap on him. If Leclerc had pitted, he would have been third, with those ahead also on new tyres. His tyres were just 5 laps old. If he remained out, he'd undoubtedly take the lead. Thus, he remained out. In retrospect, Ferrari should have pitted because it had now handed Verstappen a 5-lap tyre advantage and the safety car had decreased the lead. Leclerc had driven well and would do so for the remainder of the race. On lap 32, he was DRS'd by Perez, but a few laps later, he performed a fantastic counterpass, taking advantage of Perez's attempt to give Leclerc DRS in order to keep Verstappen behind, Carlos Sainz style. Perez was unable to stop teammate Verstappen from overtaking because of his larger wing. Even with the super low Monza-style wing Leclerc was running, he couldn't keep up with Verstappen with DRS, who took the lead with 12 laps remaining. Leclerc's locked brake into turn 14 put Perez back in front, but Charles made up with a well-planned full battery attack on the last lap. It showed us that the way the pit stop timings interacted with the random timing of the safety cars determined not only the winner, but pretty much everyone else's race as well, handing us a race of pure chaos. The exceptionally poor grip of the surface, especially at the start, is traced back to the inception of the sequence of the two critical safety cars. That's why Alonso spun in the pack at turn 1, causing chaos and a VSC, placing Perez in the pits for a new nose and rejoining last. But with the VSC holding up the group enough for him to rejoin on its tail, rather than 20's back. The stop had enabled him to go directly onto the hard tyre, which the Red Bull desired. He had the perfect mix of a higher track position and new tyres when the second safety car gave him another inexpensive stop and a second set of hards. As a result, the stage was prepared for Checo to perform at his peak, a la Sakir 2020. The Alonso-induced VSC also reduced everyone's tyre temperatures and pressures while maintaining a high fuel load. This combination led Norris's McLaren to ground out while racing into the kink of turn 11, and a genuinely massive crash happened, with much of the energy consumed scraping along the walls before reaching the turn 12 escape route, resulting in a safety car. Those who had pitted before the second safety car had their races spoiled by the timings. Gasly, Alex Albon and Logan Sargent were forced to run impossibly lengthy second stints and burned out the tyres, dropping them down the order. When Piastri was forced to pit on lap 16 due to a puncture caused by rubbing wheels with Hamilton, McLaren moved him to a two-stop strategy. He was supplied with a new set of hards. When he was forced to stop for the second tyre compound, he could never establish a gap above the field to drop into because of the safety cars. Hamilton had also been punctured by the Piastri contact, but only realised it after passing by the pit lane, costing him a lot of time and putting him near the back, from where he recovered to 8th, 7th after Russell's penalty. Just behind Sainz, who had his own fair share of chaos this weekend. Sainz had a rough weekend in Las Vegas, as he was forced to pay a grid penalty for changing a control electronics unit after his power unit was damaged during FP1 by a loose drain cover. "Obviously, I'm regretting not being able to be up there fighting for the win," Sainz stated. It looked like this weekend the car was at least able to do a podium. It would have been a fun race. But the loose valve wasn't the only thing that irritated Sainz. He feels the oil splashed on the track by a parade lap car is to blame for the chaos on lap 1 of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. "I saw a lot of oil from the cars that we used to do a driver's parade, which is another thing for the FIA to look at," Sainz told media. "It is not fair that all the oil was on the inside line. With the dirty track already being there, and on top of that, we put cars that are leaking oil into the track 1 hour before the race. It's unacceptable, and it probably caused a lot of the crashes into turn 1. So, what are your thoughts on the Las Vegas Grand Prix? And especially on the chaos during the weekend? Did it live up to the hype, or was it just too much for you? Let us know in the comments.